Yeah, big surprise, guys. That's how it works.
Is a
Everything's scripted.
Expansion. I mean, sure, the art's pretty, but what do you actually do in it? Well, with Covenants being a little bit ambiguous and there being no clear super big features from the trailer initially, many people just thought, dungeons, raids, what else? What's going on?
Yeah.
That's a fair question, and today we're going to go through the endgame experience of Shadowlands as best as we can, and that's an experience that you should play with your gorgeous looking pin. Our first production run is this month's Patreon, and of course that's in addition to the regularly scheduled Demon Hunter set. So there's that, a massive thank you to them for the support, and let's get into the video. The natural starting point is Covenants, as they are, as the developers have put it, a build-around feature, i.e. they are something that really centers the expansion. There's going to be a lot of gameplay and a lot of progression in them, but Blizzard have been...
Are you guys interested by the Covenant stuff? Let me just ask like a straight-up question. Are you guys interested by the Covenant stuff or what? Yes or no? About 50-50 or so? I don't know, like it doesn't like fill me with joy. I feel like, yeah, it could be cool or not. I don't know, I just don't really, it's not super exciting, personally.
I'd say fairly non-committal. Clearly, I think they've been burnt a little bit too much by speaking early about things in the past. Now, what we do know is that your initial choice is going to give you your class ability and a Covenant utility ability, but past that, you're going to have both gameplay and cosmetic progression. So, we'll cover Soulbinds first. They are the new endgame progression system of Shadowlands, and the way this works is that each Covenant has multiple to select from, and you'll be able to swap between them at will, just like, say, talents. Now, you level them up
takes a lot of investment to do that.
Ian even poked fun at anima power, but his point there was that it will have a weekly cap. Yeah, it's not going to be a literally infinite grind that is balanced by diminishing returns that, according to the developers, challenge the top-end players to really push it. I mean, hell, from my casual perspective, it kind of made like playing feel a little bit pointless in light of the catch-up, so it's good they're changing that. Instead, anima is going to work a little bit more like Valor points, meaning that...
That's good. Like, I feel like that's totally good, because if you finish... I just want to be able to finish something in the game. That's all I want. I just want to be able to finish something. Like, not where I'm just playing the game infinitely for forever for no fucking reason. I just want to be able to finish something. And if they can allow me to do that, I'll be happy. I just wish that was the case.
There is going to be a weekly cap. Now, I assume that you just get anima from multiple sources across the world, so, probably world content, dungeons, raids, Torghast, PvP, that stuff. So realistically, you're likely just going to select your first Soulbind and then work to level it up. Now, there are multiple Soulbinds available, but you can only have one active at a time, and this does mean that progressing through the other Soulbinds is something you can do, but it is going to be a form of horizontal progression, i.e. it will just give you more options. Now, the actual Soulbinds themselves, they are talent trees that have conduit slots. Now, these conduits are socketable items that Blizzard described as being consumable, not being an essence-like library. Instead...
Wait a minute. Isn't that just like the relics in Legion? I feel like if they're socketable things that are consumable, that's just like a fucking relic. Yeah, I mean, how's it different than AP? Well, it's different than AP in a very simple way. AP is infinite, and the amount of these that are available is not infinite. That's what makes it different. So I would consider that as like the main difference between the two different systems. Now, I do prefer to have a system where you do have like a degree of being able to finish and be done with what you're doing, rather than just, like infinitely farming things out until you just kind of get bored of it, or you just realize that you're wasting your time. So overall, like, I would consider those types of things, like, it's kind of annoying, but it's also just kind of the way it goes at the same time. You gonna do Epic Mount Quest on stream? Yeah, I am.
Being items like these 7.3 relics. Now, this does mean that collecting conduits is likely going to be a very important part of your endgame. I mean, just how important we don't really know yet, and overall, I think it's a bad idea. I think that swapping between Soulbinds really seems to embrace player customization, but the consumable nature of the conduits kind of punishes that. I mean, gems are consumable in order to preserve the value of jewel crafting, and that keeps the economy balanced. Now, this kind of implies that making conduits a consumable is really more about keeping the game's is time economy balanced, which is maybe a bit problematic. Personally, I'd rather they were just hard to get and hard to upgrade, but were in essence like library system. But anyway, let's move on. Now these conduits are socketable items. The Blizzard kind of implies that making conduits a consumable is really more about keeping the game's time economy balanced, which is,
I hate whenever I click this. Okay, yeah, I fucking clicked. I clicked. I forgot where I clicked it at. But here's the thing, right? Is like, yeah, I think the conduits would probably be better if you were able to just go between them and earn all 4 of them, and then just swap between them more dynamically, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know, like whenever you have like a change or like something like this where the player has to choose what's like best for them, I just worry about, like in WoW, every time that happens, what that ends up actually looking like for the player is there basically being 1 or 2 choices that are like the obvious decisions to make, and then everything else is just fucking garbage. And it's like, if you don't pick this one thing that gives you a 1% bonus, then you're just an idiot who's wasting their time.
Personally, I'd rather they were just hard to get and hard to upgrade, but were in essence like library system. But anyway, let's move on. So, Covenants also have visual progression. First up, you've got your Covenant armor set. Now, we don't know if these are going to have visual upgrades or different versions, but right now, we know that each Covenant has an armor set for, like, each armor type. Past that, though, you're also going to have a customizable cloak. Now, I say cloak, but it's really a backslot, and you can do a whole bunch with them, and Blizzard, like, what they showed off looked really cool. I've got to imagine you'll have, like, more tints and options be unlockable over time, and that'll just be through completing a wide range of content. Indeed, this probably sounds familiar. Blizzard have said that this and the mount color unlocks of the Covenants are inspired by the artifact weapon variant and tint collection of Legion, which I think is a fantastic idea, fantastic system.
I would consider that as a good thing too.
What I want to see more of in World of Warcraft. I think freed up from an infinite AP grind and with, well, I guess more sensible like itemization, that pursuing things like that would actually drive a lot of gameplay and engagement in the game.
Well, cosmetic progression work is really important.
Of Covenants. So let's get on to that. Shadowlands has 4 Covenants, and while you can change Covenants after you've committed to one, Blizzard have indicated that there will be a cost in doing so, such that you won't do it regularly. Now, given the faster 1 through 50 leveling of the Shadowlands expansion, it seems like Blizzard intend for you to roll a whole bunch of alts. So basically that means you've got 4 Covenants worth of armor, backslot customization, Soulbind progression, mount progression, and any other forms of progression that Blizzard add to the Covenants.
That's cool, right? But again, I just feel like these are Covenants are just like, I don't know, like really, really complicated reputations. And, like, that's cool, I guess, but it's nothing that I would really, you know, freak out about. It just seems cool.
That's actually quite a lot, and if the game truly is free from the anti-alt mechanics of Legion and BFA, then I think there will be a lot of gameplay. And then as a quick sidebar, thinking about the anima being described as being similar to Valor points and that, like, they have a cap, I've got to wonder if we'll see a Miss of Pandaria-like boost for our, like, alts in terms of anima points once the main is capped. So that's the thought. But anyway, that is our Covenant progression. What else is going to be there? Well, Torghast is going to be very important, right? It is Blizzard's new roguelite-inspired endless 1 through 4 player dungeon. Now, it's going to have layouts that will change, enemies and buffs can change over the weeks, and each run is going to end up giving you, just like different sets of bonus choices. I mean, think of Binding of Isaac or something like that. And
I think this is probably the best. This system has a lot of potential, but it's the main thing that I'm kind of worried about because I just expect it to go wrong. I don't know why. I feel bad about saying that, but I expect Blizzard to fuck this up.
To admit, it seems like a great idea. I mean, okay, it's still a concept, but it seems great. Now, the main reason why you go there is runes. Now, these runes go into your new legendary. We've yet to see a complete breakdown of this system, though, so the idea seems to be that you'll build that legendary up over time through your Torghast progression. Now, Blizzard have said that in terms of loot balancing, it's very whip at the minute, but it's going to be much like Mythic Plus, where you'll probably want to, like, do a good run of it every week, like your Mythic Plus 10. So chances are your first good run will have have a really big reward, but then like future ones within the same lockout will maybe have some like diminishing reward. Hard to tell. Overall though, if it's not that much different from the Mythic Plus system, then I can see it being successful. Now that said,
I think it depends on how dynamic it is, right? It's like if you do Torghast and there's like maybe 15 different randomized versions of the floor, then it's going to get boring really fast. But if you actually do have a better randomization system where each floor is actually different rather than, oh, well, this floor has, okay, this is the pack of like 4 melee mobs, 1 caster mob, 2 healer mobs, and then the big mob after you kill that, it's going to be boring. So it depends on how dynamic Torghast is. And I think if it's very dynamic, then yeah, people will like it.
I still do need to be a bit critical, so, I mean, if you can't endlessly grind it out in hopes of getting the ideal legendary rune a bit quicker, yeah, there could be a problem there, but still, I think right now I'm going to take Blizzard at their word there. So, that's the Torghast progression. Now, Blizzard 8.3's corrupted gear pans out, and
I wanted to make sure that...
big, flashy new
yeah, I thought that was me, but no, it's actually him. Okay.
features. What else? Well, itemization is just completely up in the air right now. Blizzard barely talked about it. They are clearly waiting to see how 8.3's corrupted gear pans out. And
it's like Darth
this
Vader,
does mean
dude.
that the itemization related aspects of Endgame are subject to change. We don't know what they're going to look like, but Blizzard said there would be like some form of gear system. So, you know, it's probably not going to be Titan Forging, it's probably not going to be corrupted gear, but it probably is going to be something. Still, at minimum, I would anticipate that pretty much all players will want to do, like, as much raid content as they want, but, you know, like a weekly Mythic Plus attempt. Now,
that seems like what makes sense to me, too.
On the RNG, using the Mythic Weekly Box as an example. Now, they said that in Shadowlands, a version of that would, say, give us a choice between 6 items instead of just giving us an item. And this means you'd be able to choose something you'd actually want, you'd almost certainly get an upgrade from it, and you just have more control over, say, what slot it is. Now, they also said that in a system like that, they'd have a backup reward if you didn't want any of the presented choices. Now, overall, I'd say this seems like a massive improvement, and I think if you extrapolate that line of thinking out, I mean, I would anticipate having less, like, RNG BS slow you down, but again, that's not really confirmed. Now, past that, Blizz also said there would be reputations that are separate from the Covenants, but again, we don't know what the gameplay is going to be like. Now, my personal hope is that each, like, rep would be distinct, like the reputations of, say, the Burning Crusade.
Yeah, I just feel like they're going to be like reps.
Ones of BFA,
that's the main thing.
No, yeah. Now, as for the world quests, well, Blizzard did mention that with Artifact Power leaving the game, they would roll out World Quests 2.0 closer to the release of Shadowlands. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, your guess is as good as mine right now. Seemingly, though, it's a reward revamp. Blizzard basically mentioned that with there being no AP-like system, a catch-up world quest could just, say, like, give you a, you know, like a level of a Soulbind or something like that. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like right now, but my presumption is that it's more of a reward thing and not a gameplay thing. So, there you go. Basically, doing the stuff that I've mentioned in this video seems like it's going to be the core of your mains and your alts in this expansion. Torghast, I'd say, seems to be better in concept than both Islands and Warfronts. The Legendary being tied to it, that, you know, that needs to be implemented right, but it does sound better than the total randomness of the Legion system.
I would agree with that.
Anima being on a VP,
yeah, it seems a lot
cap,
better.
It seems like there'll be no infinite grind. So it sounds to me like Blizzard just want to focus on, you know, you doing things that aren't required. You know, like in BFA, there wasn't a Covenant system to do. Everything was just channeled into, like, sort of required feeling character gear progression, just that, you know, they try to squeeze so much out of that, like infinite progression, that I'd say they pretty much ruined the progression of BFA. So if there are more things that I can do, and like less things that I must do, then I'll be a lot more happy with it. It likely will be far more alt-friendly, so, you know, going through a new Covenant campaign, working on unlocking new cosmetics on a new character, that seems viable. If, you know, each character isn't a massive systemic requirement as it is in BFA, then maybe, yeah, I'll feel more free to, say, roll a new character with a new Covenant, build up a new Legendary, and experience new playstyles.
I don't know what's...
like new Soulbinds, new things like that. I mean...
like, this kind of shit that Blizzard does, I feel like anything now... I'm not excited for almost anything that Blizzard announces because Blizzard is very good at announcing things that sound really cool. But they end up not being cool. So I want to see what this looks like in a playtest. Yeah, of course it does sound cool, but what is it really going to look like? I'm not sure yet. Blizzard's good at making hype? Yeah, exactly. They're good at making hype. They're good at having good ideas. They're good concepts, but they're bad at implementing the concepts into being good content for the game. I think that's the
was
difference.
Kind of a good point of Legion, like the experimentation there, but it was held back by legendary acquisition and artifact power.
Yeah.
If Shadowlands is
I'd
able
agree
to
with that.
unshackle that, it could actually be really positive for the game. So, on paper, I'm going to say that I'm actually quite excited for the content, the endgame experience that I think Shadowlands is going to have.
I don't know about that.
Of the design shifts that it seems to indicate.
Maybe.
But I say on paper because the big
Maybe.
Sylvanas focus of the reveal kind of blunted the emotional excitement for me. I was left not feeling much about the plot, but I was left thinking that the world, lore, and systems could be really big upgrades for the game. And this is getting like super speculative here, but when talking about the expansion's future, the devs mentioned how they didn't want to add like new class systems, like say the essences on top of things, and how they just say rather add more horizontal progression, like new Soulbinds. Now, I think that if that's actually like what's going to happen, I think it would be good. I think it would give us more options, but it wouldn't add more chores. And if that was to free up more development time to go into, say, new content experiences, like Torghast, like the Mage Tower, then we could end up in a really good spot. But overall, I mean, it is just too early to say for sure. So in conclusion, I think you can see here that there's actually quite a lot that I'm excited about when I think about at least the philosophy that Blizzard like espoused right throughout BlizzCon. That said, yeah, I think Sylvanas is a bit of a bummer, and a lot of it is
I think it's a big bummer.
Like, we need to see alpha, we need to see beta, and through alpha and beta, we need to be really pretty harsh, pretty darn critical, because
that's the exact shit that I said yesterday. That is 100%, 900%, 300% exact shit that I said yesterday. This expansion, we are going to play the beta, and if there's something bad in this beta, I am going to shit on it. I am going to completely fucking shit on it. And if there's anything bad, I'm just going to be as hardcore and as rude or whatever as possible, okay? We are going to massively fucking shit on it. We are going to explain how bad it is, etc. And that's what I think that we should do. That's the best idea. What's the bummer about Sylvanas? Her becoming this basically pseudo-invincible character that's able to solo the Lich King and always has some master plan that the players never understand and people discredit or they distrust Blizzard on fully understanding either. They basically made Sylvanas an invincible character that never does anything wrong because she's always acting for an unseen greater good that's unknown to the players. So you just have to accept that everything that she does is for some way or another a positive thing, and she never is compromised, or there's never a point where, you know, there's any sort of negative impact of her behavior. It's just a bad character. That's really all there is. It's a bad character.
Just look how BFA turned out. We can't have that happen again. I don't think WoW can take that happening again. But I'll say right now, I think there are positive indicators for Shadowlands, and
there's a lot of positive indicators.
It's
very true.
But overall, that is it for this video. I just want to know, what do you think about this? Like, now that we've actually walked through the likely endgame, do you think that's better sounding than BFA, better sounding than Legion? Do you like the idea of less, I guess, power progression, but more like optional cosmetic progression, that kind of thing? Let me know in the comments. A big thank you to our patrons, and I mean, yeah, note the pins. The pins are really cool.
They need to have character
anyway,
progression.
Cheers, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
They can't have this stupid ass shit where you don't have actual legitimate real character progression. Character progression is what matters. If it's some other type of bullshit, like, oh yeah, wow, well your character is going to be able to do whatever the fuck, right? He looks cool. Like, that matters. But, like, look at Classic WoW. Look how motivated people are to do Classic WoW. Look at the fucking fiending that they do whenever a piece of gear drops that they want. They act crazy. They act like fucking animals about it. Why is that? Because that kind of stuff matters to them. And that's why I think that kind of stuff means a lot. And I absolutely think that Blizzard should focus on trying to make that, you know, more of a focus on just in general for them. They need to do that because they're degenerates. Yeah, I get mad. I get mad whenever I don't get loot because loot matters in the game. It has an impact. Like, cosmetic progression ultimately has no impact, and that's why it doesn't matter.